The Wind in the Willows. Please like, share, and subscribe. Chapter 8 Wayfarers All. Meanwhile, Rat was restless, and he did not exactly know why. Summer was almost over, and the birds were beginning to fly south. Even though Rat loved his life on the river, he began to wonder, what would it be like to see those far-off places? Rat wandered through the familiar fields. How would it be to leave them behind? Feeling a little sad, he went back to the river. At least his dear old river never packed up and went away. Rat spotted a bird, a swallow to be exact, in the reeds. Soon it was joined by another, and then by a third. Rat knew they were about to fly south. "What, already?" he asked, strolling up to them. "What's the hurry?" "Oh, we're not flying off yet, if that's what you mean," replied the first swallow. "We're only making plans, talking over what route we'll take this year and where we'll stop and so on. That's half the fun." "Couldn't you stay for just this year?" suggested Rat wistfully. "You have no idea what good times we have here while you're far away." "I tried staying one year," said another swallow. "For a few weeks it was fine, but then it got dark and cold and I couldn't stand it. Finally, I headed south alone. It was snowing hard when I left, and it was hard flying, but I'll never forget the feeling of the hot sun on my back as I finally flew down to the warm lakes that lay so blue below me. No, I learned my lesson. I'll never do that again." "Ah, yes, the call of the South," twittered the other two dreamily. "Oh, do you remember?" And forgetting Rat, they talked happily about their other home. Rat listened, and for the first time, he was really tempted to go. He closed his eyes and thought about sun and warmth, and when he opened them again, the river seemed cold and gray. Then he shook himself. "Why do you ever come back?" he asked the swallows. "We love it here too," said the first swallow. "We get homesick, and we want to return to the fields and meadows and barns." They started talking again, but Rat walked away toward a nearby hill. He climbed up to look out over his familiar view. Was there something else out there, somewhere else, that he might love even more? Then he heard footsteps. It was another rat, a very dusty one. The wayfarer said hello and sat down. He was thin and his face was wrinkled. He wore small gold earrings, a blue sweater, and a pair of old patched pants. He carried his things tied up in a blue cotton handkerchief. "I like the smell of clover and the sight of cows in the meadow," he said after he'd rested for a moment. "It's quiet here, very peaceful. You have a good life here by the river." "Yes, it is the life, the only life to live," answered Rat dreamily. He didn't sound quite as sure as he usually did. "That may be so," said the stranger, "but still, I'm on my way south. I'm a seafaring rat, and I have been all over this world." Rat asked the stranger to tell him about his travels, and the sea rat talked for a long time, spinning tales of distant lands, beautiful exotic cities, and the delicious food and drink of other countries. "That reminds me," said Rat, "you must be hungry. Will you have lunch with me? My hole is nearby." "That's kind of you," said the sea rat. "I am hungry, but do you think you could bring it out here? I'll fall asleep if I go inside, but if we stay outside, I can tell you more stories." "What a good idea," said Rat, and he hurried home to pack up his picnic basket with bread and sausage and other things he thought the sea rat would like. When he came back, they unpacked the food and ate and ate. When they weren't quite so hungry anymore, the sea rat began to talk again, telling the story of how he'd found his way from sunny Spain all the way to this hill up north. Rat loved every detail of the story. Sea Rat went on and on about his travels and adventures, and Rat began to feel as if he were dreaming a beautiful, exciting dream. Finally, Sea Rat stood up. "And now," he said, looking into Rat's eyes, "I must start off again, on to the warm south for more adventure. And you will follow me, won't you? Adventure is calling you. Listen and come." His voice died away, and Rat sat staring as Sea Rat disappeared down the road. Without thinking, Rat got up and carefully packed the picnic basket. Without thinking, he went home, gathered together a few belongings, and put them in a knapsack. Like a sleepwalker, he threw the knapsack over his shoulder, chose a walking stick, and stepped outside just as Mole appeared at the door. "Where are you off to, Ratty?" asked Mole, surprised. "Going south with the rest of them," murmured Rat in a dreamy voice. "Adventure is calling me." He tried to walk past Mole, but Mole wouldn't let him. He saw something in Rat's eyes, something that frightened him. Rat was not himself. It was as if he had been hypnotized. Mole pulled Rat back inside. Rat struggled for a few moments, then he gave in. Mole helped him to a chair where he sat, looking shaky and exhausted. Then Rat began to cry. Mole closed the door, threw Rat's knapsack into a closet, and sat down quietly near his friend, waiting for the tears to stop. Finally, Rat fell asleep, and Mole let him nap. When Rat woke up, he seemed more like himself. Mole sat down and tried to cheer him up. "What happened?" he asked. Ratty tried to explain things, but it was hard. How could he explain the magic of Sea Rat's tales? The spell was broken now, and he could hardly believe how strong it had been. Mole could see that Rat still seemed sad. He even seemed to have lost interest in his beloved river. Mole began to talk about how nice it was with fall coming, how the farmers were harvesting their crops, how the apples were ripening on the trees, and how everyone was looking forward to another snug winter in their cozy homes. Soon, Rat sat up and joined in. His eyes were a little brighter, and he seemed interested in his old life again. Mole slipped away for a moment and came back with a pencil and some paper. "It's been quite a while since you wrote any poetry," he said. He knew Rat would feel much better if he wrote a few lines. Rat pushed the paper away at first, but Mole left the room, and when he peeked in a little later, Rat was scribbling away. Then Mole knew for sure that Rat would be all right. His dreams of going south would stay dreams while he stayed home on the river, where he was truly happiest. Well, as Tigger says, ta-ta for now. We'll read the next chapter next time. Till then, love you. Bye-bye.